Hi, I'm Mark Luthold, and I'm going to show you how to load a kiln. One of these cylinder kilns that are very easy to use. Here's the kiln, and you can see the little sign, do not lean on or place anything on this kiln. That's so the lid doesn't crack and deteriorate. If the lid cracks and deteriorates a lot, it'll crumble pieces onto your work. In a glaze firing, that will have very negative results. So let's go ahead and open the kiln and see what we got. We're loading a bisque kiln. Okay, some unpleasant surprises here. We got very dirty shelf in here and a lot of garbage in there from previous users who aren't being very thoughtful. It's kind of like renting a room or a house and finding the last person's garbage still in there. But, you know, we can deal with it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the shelf, and also there's a cone that probably should be removed as well. So with this shelf, you can see that they fired work in here without using kiln wash, which is really a no-no because it's very hard to remove when you don't have kiln wash underneath it, and also when you fire again and you put your stuff on top of that, you might get glaze on the bottom of your shelves. Also, do you see all that garbage in there? Let's get that out. Now, there are cookies, broken pieces of shelf in there, and those are to hold the shelf up. But there's other, like, broken clay. And, well, let's go ahead and try and remove some of it. Okay, that's a little better. So now we're going to set a new cleaner shelf in. Okay, so we got our new cleaner shelf in, and now we're going to put stilts in. And for each shelf you need 3 stilts. 4 is unnecessary. 3 is enough. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I put my stilts on top of areas of the shelf that are supported underneath with broken pieces of shelf, so you'll be able to see. Okay, so see right here, there's a little piece of broken shelf, so just put your stilt there. You don't want to have no cookie or broken piece of shelf underneath your stilt, because then your shelf will be unstable. It'll be a bad foundation. So here's another one right here, and here's the third. So we've got our 3 our three stilts in, and then you just put your work in. So I'm gonna just put some things here that are just laying around. They don't need to be fired, but I'm just pretending. So let's say you have some pieces, and you could go ahead and put them in the kiln. Now in a bisque firing, you can stack, okay? And I would just fill this all up, and then when it's full, I'd put the next shelf on. So here's the next shelf, but look at this. This has glaze on it. So I don't want to use that, so I'm going to scrape some of that off. So you're going to hear a loud noise, sort of, with me scraping that off. Okay, we're lucky because there's enough kiln wash underneath that glaze so I could remove it easily. If there's no kiln wash on the shelf and the glaze sticks to it, it's hard to remove. So I'm just going to set this down, and now I'm ready for my next layer of shelves. When you put things into the kiln, including the shelves, be careful not to bump these things. These are the thermocouples, and that's what guides the kiln guides the kiln controller to heat the kiln. So now I would set my next stilts in. Oh, let's say I want a 6-inch shelf. So I need to pick 3 6-inch stilts, and I need to set them on top of the other stilts that are underneath. This one is right here. I can feel it, so I'll set that right there. Here's the next one right here. And here's the next one. So those are all set. And now I can set more work in. So let's say these are my pieces that I want to fire. I think these have been fired, so I'm just doing this for this demonstration. And then I would put the next shelf in. And let's see. Look at this shelf. This shelf has glaze on it too, so I'm going to knock those off. So I got that. Now we would fill this shelf up, but this is just a demo. So I'm going to put this next shelf in. And because there was kiln wash on the shelf, I was able to remove those big globs of glaze. But you know, be a good neighbor, pay it forward, and when you unload your glaze firing, go ahead and take the time to remove the glaze that drips off of your work. The next person will be very grateful. You're supposed to leave the shelves and everything in what I call kiln ready condition, that is ready to be used by the next person without having to do remedial tasks associated with somebody else's work. That's not very good citizenship. Okay, so now I would be putting in things. let's say I only want half a shelf for this next level. So then I'm going to find my stilts again. Let's see, where is it? I thought it was around. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm going to set one here. And here is the other one. So I'll set that here. And I'm going to set that here. Okay. Now I'll move this over a little bit. So these two are very supported. This one is not so much supported, but it's near the top, so it's okay. So now I can set my work in here, but before I do, I want to set my my cone in the kiln sitter. And so let me get this out. Oh dear. I messed up. I dropped the cone, so I've got to fish that out. Wow, I'm going to do it. Even for this video. Because I want to be a good citizen. So I'm going to get these out. Now, if the kiln was loaded, this would be a lot more work. But it's not loaded, so it won't take me that long. And you'll get a little bit more of a review. And here's this cone. So it's a little risky having an old cone in all the time, so I'm glad to put a new one in. So now I'm going to put these back in. And our stilts. Let's see, where's this one over here? And this one's here. And this one is here. Our next shelf. I'm being very careful. You know what though? Before I put this shelf in, why don't I make life easier for myself? And for a bisque kiln, go ahead and use an 05 bar cone. You'll see these boxes are labeled 05, and then inside are these little bar-shaped cones. Have a look at the cone to verify that it says 05. It's very hard to read, but I think I can read it, 05. And I'm going to go ahead and put this new cone in. So I'm going to, on the outside of the kiln, I'm going to lift the weight up, and I'm going to press down on this rod and set my cone in. So I have a brand new cone in. Now, there's another video that describes how to set the cone in where you see both inside and outside of the kiln sitter. You should definitely watch that so you understand. But I couldn't do that with this film, with this video. So now I'm going to set this back in. You're going to be very careful not to bump. Be very careful not to bump that or these thermocouples, because then, you know, bad things can happen. Now, let's see. Let's find, there's my stilt there. Here's my other one here. I'm going to put one halfway here. And maybe just to be extra cautious, I'll set one here too. And now I need a half shelf. So let's say I have some tall things I'm going to put here, and then a bunch of short things. So I would put my short things here. Oh, for example, this. And then I'm going to get my shelf. And this one is fairly clean. That's a nice surprise. And I can just set this in. Now, if I changed my mind and I wanted to fill this side up with short things too, all I would need is one more stilt to put here, and then the second shelf could go here. So with potentially 4 stilts, you can hold up 2 shelves, which if you think about it is pretty remarkable. So then I would continue to load. Continue to load things in. And let's see, I can stack. Now, obviously this is too high. What's a good way to check if your pieces are going to fit in the kiln? Just bend down and match the one side of the edge of the kiln with the back side of the edge of the kiln. And anything sticking out like this needs to be changed. Okay, so I can do it this way, I can do it many ways. Here, I'm going to put it down here because I can stack. Stacking is always good because it will save space. Okay, so that's how you load the kiln. And you just close it very gently. And then you can program your kiln. And I've shown you how to do that. This is a bisque kiln. This is a bisque kiln, so your cone is already in place in the kiln sitter, and you're ready to program the Bartlett controller, which you have a look at that video to know how to do that. Happy firing.